In case you didn't know, it's October 18th, 1 week further along last week. How amazing. And I want to just have a few words about Freethought heroes, and one hero in particular. Of course, a church of Freethought entails a religion of Freethought. I always thought it was interesting how different individuals and groups, their take on religion. Most of our fellow atheists want to just get rid of religion and say that they have no religion. But of course, it depends what you mean by religion. If religion is a system of supernaturalism layered on top of rationalism and naturalism, then we need to get rid of the supernaturalism. But we forget that once upon a time, religion was everything. It wasn't two systems, naturalism and supernaturalism. So the evolution of that has been that we do have a lot of religions that are really free of supernaturalism, some forms of Buddhism, of course, the UU people become atheists, and they just have this little patina of supernaturalism and quote unquote spirituality. So we just say the religion without the supernatural, that to us is religion. And again, other people had many opinions about. I know that Dan Barker, who of course wrote this wonderful book called Losing Faith in Faith. If that's not on your bookshelf, it needs to be. He has said that if you that people some say that you should not throw the out with the bathwater, but he claimed if you throw the supernatural stuff out the bathwater, no baby. But that's really a matter of contention, not really something that's been settled yet. But our effort is to have religion without the supernatural, without gods, without heaven, hell, materialism, and so forth. And I think a very good argument can be made that there is still something left of it. Mainly, you get a religion that can actually grow, that can improve, and that can be criticized and doubted. That's what we want. We want a religion that is like science in that way, even though it doesn't deal with scientific questions, but with religious questions, however you want to think about that. So, does Freethought have saints? Of course not. We don't believe that people after they die go off to some supernatural place and watch over us, but many people who have really been blazers for Freethought have gone to somewhere else, mainly the pages of books and ideas, something of themselves. And so we can have, I think, heroes. And that is something of a double-edged sword, as we've been finding out with mindset of getting torn down because, well, so-and-so had saves and so on. To have heroes is to diminish ourselves, was said by a wise man. But we can still recognize and find inspiration in the ideas of fallible, flawed fellow human beings been concerned with challenges and difficulties that concern us. And I think that's really the way that we want at it and the way we want to go. So here's the famous guy who left behind lots of interesting things. His most famous is that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Of course, that was Thomas Edison. And I found a lot of interesting, they call these memes when you have a quote in the picture of the guy, or when you have a quote that's done up as a slide or something you can post. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success and they gave up. I'm not Thomas Edison. And of course, he famously tried to find things that would work as filaments in a light bulb. And the fame goes that lots and lots of things didn't work. And then his response to that is he said, I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And life being a process of trial and error, it's good to know where the errors are. Just like Merlin with his golf game this morning, I'm sure he's learned the course well enough to know what not to do. And is knowing not to do anything that is important, maybe even important than knowing what to do. And as Edison also said, there's a way to do it better. Find it. And that's what our job, and very much a religious question, I think. How do you do things better? Christians and other people, mainly Christians, are fond of challenges. Well, are you perfect? Well, of course not, but trying to do better, that's the standard. It's not whether you're perfect. Edison also said, your worth consists in what you are and not what you have. And of course, there's another man that said that what you are is what you habitually do. If you habitually the same mistakes, that's not a thing. So again, trial and error, knowing what the mistakes are. And this is also a very important insight, I think. Time is really the only capital that any human being has, and the only thing you can't afford to lose is to throw away your time and your life. Your life is your time is your life. Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. And the greatest invention in the world is the mind of a child. Of course, that doesn't mean that you're no longer a child. You can't have a child mind. And of course, there's even something in the New Testament about that, unless you become as little children. And we should try to be as little children, to look at the world as a new thing instead of something that's old hat and not worth paying attention to. Now, this is an interesting quote because this brings us to the idea of free thought heroes. Thomas Edison was very much an atheist. Now, you can find things that he said that kind of make him sound like a New Ager or panentheist, kind of an Einsteinian person. And who's to say it? Of course, he was in the 19th century. That wasn't a very particular thing to say, especially when you're a public figure, not to completely inflame the believers. But he pointed out, of course, that nature, what we know. That's what we said last time, naturalism. And we'll still do a service about naturalism. We do not know the gods of religions, and nature not kind or merciful or love. If God made me the fabled God of the three qualities of which I spoke, mercy, kindness, love, he also made the fish I catch, eat. And where do his mercy, kindness, and love for that fish come in? No. Nature made us. Nature did it all, not the gods of the religions. Science proves its theories or rejects them. I've never seen the slightest scientific proof of the religious theories of heaven and hell, a future life for individuals, or of a person God. I cannot accept as final any theory which is not provable. The theories of the theologians cannot be proved. Proof, that is what my mind requires before it can accept a theory as fact. Of course, Thomas Edison lived before Karl Popper, and the realization in the 20th century is that really you don't prove anything except in mathematics. That science is primarily involved with conjectures and then doing what can be done to try to refute them. And the things that resist refutation, those are the things we cling to, always knowing that something else could come along, because the future is an unknown, indefinite, who knows what will happen type of thing. And we may have to throw away all the theories that we have now, but there's quite a lot that we have had for many years now that appears. So that's Thomas Alva Edison. Most of the pictures you find online are of him as an old man, and I was able to find these where he's a younger person, and that's always nice. He was born in February of 1847, but look when he died, October 18th, that day. So he died on this day in 1931. I would really love to know what your favorite ideas and quotes are. The people connected to them, of course, deserve some credit recognition, but it would be fun in the future if, feel free to send me these things. You could email them to me, put them up, but I'd like you comment on them and say why they're important, why they're meaningful, what makes them meaningful. We could have a whole session just based on each person doing one or more of these and talking about it. That'd be a lot of fun for me. It'd help us to get to know each other and expand our minds, which is why we're all here and why we're in this world. Thought I'd put up a couple of other things I found that happened on October 18th. This is Alaska Day, because in 1867, that's when the United States took possession of Alaska. Look what we paid for it, $7.2 million. And of course, it was a lot more in those days, in today's dollars. But that's when we took possession of Alaska. Just a complete coincidence, perhaps, maybe. We also, the United States, took possession of Puerto Rico from the Spanish after the Spanish-American War. That happened in 1898. And guess what? This is Person Day in Canada. What in the heck is Person Day? Because in 1929, the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council of the United Kingdom of the Commonwealth overruled the Supreme Court of Canada. I guess at that time, the Supreme Court of Canada could be overruled by a yet higher authority, which was this Judicial Committee of the Privy Council of the UK. It was a famous case in Canada where the Supreme Court of Canada was overruled. The Supreme Court of Canada had said that we may not be senators, could not be members of the upper house in the Canadian Parliament because they were, quote, qualified persons, unquote. But the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council overruled that and said, no, women are persons, so you must let them have a seat in the upper house. How about that? Just think of the difficulties that could be avoided if there was a higher court for us than the Supreme Court of the United States. Maybe we should humbly petition to rejoin the Commonwealth, and then we could not write so much about the Supreme Court because there'd be a higher power, a last appeal, since everybody always admires what the Brits do when it comes to so many other things. And in 1904, this was when Texas Instruments announced that it made first transistor radio. Wow, what a milestone. Aren't we glad we don't have tube technology? But if the tube technology is resistant to electromagnetic pulse when the North Koreans launch a nuclear device at us. Reminder of our principles. For our church, we don't really have doctrines and dogmas. If we did, they would just be, hey, how about this for now? But reason, enjoyment, and appreciation and love are our principles for the real world, for the natural world of ourselves and each other. Reiterating political subjects to be keeping it passionate and academic, and remind ourselves and each other how much respect we have for other views, and having a little sense of humility that everything I know certainly about politics, well, not everything, but most things, is again second and third hand, because it's just what you read in the newspapers after all. Kind of like, was it Will Rogers, I think said, all I what I read in the newspapers. Into the Freethought is not free. I very much appreciate, very important that those of you who make contributions through the PayPal website. And if you haven't been doing that recently, just want to give us $5 and just help us out and help us do more with our church, because we can do together so many things that none of us can do on our own. And we want to promote your values. Share with us your values. That's partly why I want to send me your quotes, or be able to share a screen with us like I'm doing here, so that we can be the future that we wish to see. It doesn't make any sense to curse the darkness unless you're willing to light that candle in the dark, as Carl Sagan in his the book Candle in the Dark. That should be on your bookshelf too. So let's go on to some Q&A discussion.